Greetings and welcome to another edition of Prescott Talks with your host, David McNabb. Today I have a very special guest running for Prescott City Council with me, Dr. Tony Hamer. Dr. Hamer, thank you for coming in to Prescott E! News Studio to talk to us about your campaign for the Prescott City Council today.
My pleasure, Dave. It
All
really
right.
is.
Why don't you start off by giving us your background?
Well, how many hours do you have for this
We
video?
don't have much time, so you gotta get up. This is going to have to be the Reader's Digest version.
Okay. Born in the UK just after the Second World War. Parents, father had been in POW for 4 years. My mother worked in the Women's Royal Navy and was involved with getting people out from Dunkirk at the start of the war. And then in terms of getting boats over for D-Day as well. So both parents were tremendous people. I've benefited a lot from
That
their
helps a lot,
knowledge.
doesn't it?
It really does.
Yep.
So I grew up in Gravesend, just east of London, 25 miles east. Dad worked in the East End of London. He worked for the North Thames Gas Board. Mum worked for an insurance company for a while. So I grew up after the war, and it was still a very tough time in England. We had rationing, and we had lack of open spaces because everything was bombed out. So we had a tough childhood, but it was character forming, let me say that.
That's right.
So, I went to university. Well, I went to grammar school. We had a very good rugby team. We were nationally ranked as a rugby team.
Were you a player?
I was.
Excellent.
I played 29 years, Dave.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, including starting 2 clubs over here.
You're lucky you can still walk playing that long.
Well, I do have the hip done and the knee done.
That is a rough sport.
It's okay. It's okay. As long as you know your physics in terms of tackling people. Right?
Right.
So went on to Reading University, got a degree in chemistry with honors. Really, honors.
Excellent.
You know, that was good.
That's not an easy subject either.
No, and I came out of university and there were no jobs. Unemployment was 15%.
Wow.
So you came out into the marketplace and there was nothing.
Huh.
So I knew a couple of people here in the States, one who was at Purdue University, who I'd done some summer research with. And so I came over to Purdue as a teaching assistant and got a PhD at Purdue in inorganic chemistry. That's those other 103 elements, carbon's organic, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other 103 are more interesting than carbon.
Okay. So that's what you learned about and dealt with after school in some way and your work?
Yeah, I went into industry. I had a job offer at Syracuse University to teach. I decided not to do that, went into industry. After my PhD there, I had 12 job offers, whereas in England, I couldn't get one.
Oh.
Over here, I had 12. So,
yes.
You know, the streets over here were paved in gold, weren't they? So that was very good.
Yeah.
So I went to Union Carbide out in New Jersey, worked there as a research chemist, a bench chemist, and then went up through the management levels. And very luckily, while I was there, I was involved in the development of a new product called linear low-density polyethylene, which all of your dry cleaning stuff comes in that cling film.
Right.
That's linear low-density polyethylene.
So you're responsible for that, huh?
I absolutely am, and I'm proud of it as well. What I'm not proud of is that people are not disposing of that product properly. And the recycling industry has been slow developing, and I'm not proud of that.
Is that recyclable?
Yes, absolutely, 100% recyclable.
But it's not being recycled it's very much.
Well, it's not being collected well enough. You know, it is recycled, but the collection systems that we have are not good at this point.
Okay.
We need to work on those.
Yes.
That's your next job.
All right. I looked right into it, Doctor.
Good. So Union Carbide, tremendous invention. I got 12 patents out of that. and went on to our first licensee of the technology, Exxon, And we built plants in Saudi Arabia, in Canada, in the US, of course, and in France, and built those plants in the late 70s, early 80s. And I was responsible for the technology going into those plants and the design of those plants. So it was a pretty intensive business.
Yes, and I know you have a lovely wife.
I do indeed,
yes.
Michelle.
Yes, she's...
With 25 years we've been married
25
this year.
years, good man.
Yeah.
Hang in there.
As she would say, 25 years.
No, please. And children?
Yes, we've got two between us, and one living in Phoenix, and he runs a remodel handyman sort of business very, very successfully. And one up in Denver, Colorado. And he's in the food and beverage area. His restaurant last year was nominated in the top 100 restaurants in the States.
Oh, wow.
So he did very well on that.
Very nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Both great guys.
Well, tell us why.
Their wives are even better than they are, though. They're beautiful girls.
They always are.
They
It just always works out that way. I don't know why.
So we got two grandchildren as well, though.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you're a family man then.
I am.
Well, that sounds, you're starting to sound responsible and respectable.
Oh, please. No, let's not go that far.
So tell us why you want to run for the Prescott City Council.
I must be insane, mustn't I?
Yes.
No, I picked up a lot of skills as I went through my industrial career, my outside career, business career. Picked up a lot of skills in planning, in business management, in accounting, sales, marketing, manufacturing. And I looked at those skills over the last few years and said to myself, I'd really like to apply them. I'm applying them as a consultant, but I'd really like to help the city. I love this city. I really do. We moved here very purposefully 17 years ago. And I felt that a lot of the things that were happening, it looked like we were lurching from crisis to crisis to crisis. And we continue to do so today, whether it's water, whether it's Big Chino, whether it's, you name it, all the things out there. The rodeo was the latest crisis, right?
It's been in the paper lately,
Yeah, so all those things. And I said, look, if we step back from this and run it as a business, and we have a plan, and we execute against that plan, and we have business processes, modern business processes, we can probably take a lot of money out of the business and raise the quality of services to the citizens at the same time.
What? Being illogical in government?
Well, I'm sorry to bring that up. Should we finish the interview now?
No. You're doing good. So you saw some problems that you could address. In your background, you realize that you can help out with the city.
That's what I feel.
The city government, and believe me, I know the city government needs help.
But every other citizen out there knows it needs help as well. The city would say to us, well, we're running quite well. We've got a budget this year which is only going up 15.2% on the operating side. That's a heck of a lot of money. That's, huge. I believe we can go into the city and we can take cost out of the city, but we won't take it out with respect to people who do very necessary jobs, the real key pieces of the business process. We might look at management and make sure that they're really adding to what we're doing here in the business. We'll certainly look at purchasing in terms of outsourcing versus insourcing. In terms of, I had a friend the other day say to me, I went to the city and I wanted to get a traffic study done. And the city said they'd be pleased to do the traffic study. $20,000, please.
Really?
He said,
he had to cough it up himself.
Well, that's right. So he went around the corner and he spoke to somebody on the same scope of traffic studies. And they said, oh, 7,000 we'll do that for.
Oh, my.
So, with items like that, and you know hundreds of these things as well. we can take a lot of cost out of the city. We can have a much better organization, a streamlined organization. We can conduct things like operational excellence and continuous cost improvements, and we can run based on business processes. Now, we're very lucky. We've got a new city manager who's come up from the valley. She's worked with business processes before, and I see the gleam in her eye when I talk to her. She says we can run things better, and she'll be a very good person to work with.
Good to hear. And how's your campaign going? I see a campaign literature here that you gave me, and was looking over this. Looks quite good. A good picture of you on there.
Except for the picture you were going to say.
No, good picture. You're even almost smiling on this one here.
You know, I've had complaints about my signs around town because I'm sort of like that.
Yeah. And
they say I'm too serious.
Well,
I'm serious about this job.
This is serious business.
It's $250 million of serious business each year.
Absolutely.
So let's get after it. So we provide the taxpayers with the best quality services we can at the lowest cost that we can.
Excellent. It sounds real good to me. What else is on your platform that you haven't already talked about?
You know, as part of the team of the City Council, we need to team on these things. So as I come into City Council, if I were to be elected, we need to form strong teams to make some of these things happen. It's not a single individual going into council and waving a magic wand or anything like that. This is much more about teamwork across the organization, and everybody needs to be involved in that. Secondly, it's about communications. You know, there's a lack of trust and a lack of transparency that the citizens see in terms of City Council.
Yes.
We have to address that. So as I mentioned to you just a couple of minutes ago, I would be anxious to have open office days, often open office hours, and also town hall meetings where we invite people to a location to discuss topics which are prevalent at the time. And we have a beer and a piece of pizza and talk about some of this stuff.
What?
Very
Not in a stuffy room somewhere? What?
You know, I'm trying to get away from that, David, but if you insist on having a conversation in a stuffy room, we could certainly do that.
That's a
just
great
for
idea.
You.
Have some actual communication with our leaders. That's a phenomenal idea.
Well,
why didn't they think of this before?
Well, I'm not quite sure, but maybe that's why I'm running.
Okay. Well, that's a good reason. And that's the communication plan. It's a good idea.
You know, I'd just like to add one thing, which is a little different. And that is, you know, we're very reliant on sales and privilege tax in terms of our revenue sources here in the city. That's very dangerous. If the economy goes down, we have a big dip for a couple of years or something like that, we're in big trouble in terms of providing services because of the source of funding there. So we need to do something about that. My approach would be to do more economic development in terms of the city. We need to bring in industries, companies, small companies, growth companies, technology-oriented companies, and they will be attractive to the younger generation in our population, and we'll be able to put them to work here close to home or attract people from the outside to come and work in these small companies. And as they graduate, that will in fact diversify our tax revenues and make us a lot better to survive downturns which might come in the general economy around us.
Excellent. You're thinking of everything. I love it.
I'm a strategic planner in my career, and you have to draw these pieces together, make sure they fit together, get the approval of the shareholder. Oh, sorry, taxpayer.
There you go.
Yeah. And the taxpayers aren't very happy with us these days. They're a little bit disenfranchised from what the city is doing. I don't like to see that. As Ted Gambogi says in his campaign, we need to come together a little bit on that. And I agree with Ted on that. Maybe the only thing I do agree with him.
All right. Okay. Now, do you have any partners that you're running with in any way?
Well, my wife is my campaign manager. She's a partner.
I meant the other candidates.
Yes.
Are you hooked up with any of the other candidates?
Yeah, Chad DeVries and I have worked together. We have very similar views on some things, most things actually. And he's a good man. He's suffered a character assassination attempt by all the other candidates.
I've heard about that. Yes, it's very ugly.
It's not good. It's
very ugly.
It's cheesy. It's nasty.
Yep.
It's not what we're made of in terms of people here in Prescott.
That's right.
We need to stop that stuff.
Yes, that kind of negativity is not welcome.
He was accused of being bankrupt, and yes, he was bankrupt. I look at that and say anybody who gets into business has the chance of going bankrupt if they're forcing the edges of that business to be successful.
That's true.
So
a lot of good people go into bankruptcy, and that's not a scourge on their character.
It should not be.
Yes.
It shouldn't be a badge of honor, but it shouldn't be a scourge.
Sure, that's right.
It's something you should learn from, and I think he has.
Now, the voting ballots have been mailed out.
Yes, they have.
But when is the election day?
Election day itself is August the 1st. So ballots were sent out on July the 5th. So we're starting to get into the first third of voting time. I think it's an incredibly long period for a vote, isn't it, really?
Yes, it's quite long, yes.
But I won't comment on that process. I'll do something about it eventually.
Okay, well, I just want to say I'm voting for you.
Well, thank you, Dave.
I think you're a good man, and you're going to do a good job in office. So
I very much appreciate that.
All right, brother. And just tell us about your website, and we'll sign off with that.
Okay. My website is tonyforprescott.com. tonyforprescott.com. Okay. That's where you can find out a lot more about my background, my experience. I have the experience for this job. I wouldn't be running for it otherwise. I hope you'll vote for me on or before August the 1st.
Excellent. So if you can, go to the website, please do so. It's an excellent site. You'll see a lot about Dr. Tony there and learn more about the whole process. This has been David McNabb, your guest host today on Prescott Talks with our special guest, Dr. Tony Hamer, running for Prescott City Council. Thanks for watching, and God bless.